or more viewable. Maybe not better, but more viewable.
Testing audio. Chat does look good.
Cool.
Audio sounds good. YouTube is live. Twitch is live. Twitch audio looks good. And we are live. So, welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. We're here to provide support and answer any questions about our software services. And you can do that by joining our IRC chat. If you jump over to foolishtechshow.com, there's a plethora of ways to join our IRC chat, either in a new window or right above the stream. You can view the embedded one, or you can set up your own IRC client to talk with us in chat. Looks like we got Phoenix already in there, and he's posted a bunch of links as well. And some of those were some that were already on my list to talk about, so we'll go ahead and jump into those. The first one he posted, which I'll repost here, is about the hacker ordered to hand over encryption keys. I think that's for the American hack or whatever. So it looks like the British government went ahead and said you need to do that. Then he posted another one about the journalist Mathew Keys getting 2-year prison term for helping anonymous hackers. That's like that other guy that was the spokesman for Anonymous. It looks like journalism does not protect your free speech in that method. This is one of the ones that I was going to talk about here. The full Anti-Encryption Bill has been released, so if you want to see how terrible they did from going from draft to a full bill, you can read that now. And this is an interesting one, I thought. Microsoft is suing the U.S. government over unconstitutional secret data request. So a big thing with the government now is when they do subpoenas for data and things like that, they basically tag on a indefinite gag order so that no one involved in it can ever talk about it. And linking to national security is probably their biggest reasoning for that. But that is kind of like we don't get any oversight or any opinion on that, basically. So the government's just allowed to request whatever information they want, and no one will ever get to know about it. Kind of messed up. What was that, Proctor?
Back on the encryption law.
Mm-hmm.
That's apparently spearheaded by a North Carolina senator. Richard Burr is one of the two senators presenting that bill. So if you live in the state of North Carolina, call him and tell him that you don't like it.
Yeah. Y'all are just coming out with all kinds of great laws, aren't you?
Let's don't get started on that one.
Yeah. I actually read an article this morning that Asheville is going to move out of North Carolina because of that recent state law.
The whole city?
Yeah, the whole city.
Put it on flatbed. Get it out of there.
Uproot and move.
Maybe I can grab the Biltmore before it leaves.
Yeah. He also posted a neat trick with Easy to Boot to check CRCs of payloads before you run them. And also wanted to mention about Veracrypt on yesterday's show that use key files for your container, do not delete the files you use. Do not delete the files you use a key files, or you will not be able to access your volume. So I'm guessing that means that you can select specific files to be used to lock and unlock your Vercrypt containers, and if you delete those files, it's just like deleting your key file that's just a key file. So RTM Tech says he lost audio. It looks like I still have it on Twitch and on YouTube, so it is maybe something on your side, RTM Tech. Otherwise, there's a whole bunch of stuff. This one I wanted to talk about, but we got so caught up in talking with the security stuff, which was pretty awesome, which if you didn't watch yesterday's show, I got that posted, so you can check that out. We talked about a lot of interesting security ideas and tips and tricks and such. And Phoenix, with the BitLocker stuff, it's we talked about that yesterday, and that's actually, I don't say that's a bad idea. With Microsoft automatically enabling BitLocker to encrypt your drive, it's a fine idea for them to store those keys on their servers. If they didn't, just alerting people, that would never fly, and then people would get all pissed off when they couldn't get back their files because they lost their sign-in password or whatever, or had to change users or something like that. They'd get all up in arms, even if there was huge big warnings to say don't continue unless you write this key number down and remember it, or save this on a flash drive and don't lose it. And it's just like a forgot your password thing, and I'm glad that they're automatically enabling that, because that protects you from everyone except the government. But I still don't see an issue with them storing BitLocker encryption keys on their server. It is, but the only reason that feds would want to access your crap is if they had reason to, supposedly. So, and normally, if you have stuff that you don't want them accessing, they probably have a reason to. So just keep that in mind as well. Yes, there are other third-party tools that are better. But anyway, I talked about this with the group here yesterday after our show, but I wanted to mention it on the show. Doctor Strange is the next Marvel movie to come out. The trailer there looks really cool. I didn't even know about that character. Actually, Nick was the only one that knew about that character. None of us actually knew about it except for him. So it does look like a pretty cool premise, and what I really like about it is it has that whole Matrix vibe of you have to find Morpheus and open your mind type things. So I'm excited and interested to see where that goes and how that turns out.
I'll add something to interject.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had some discussions about, and I don't know if this was mentioned recently, please excuse me if it has, but discussions about USB-C type cables and whether or not they were potentially not constructed properly or would cause damage, the cheap ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had mentioned that. It's come to my attention that they've worked out authentication protocols for it, so they have some software now that can apparently test this.
Yep.
So that's yeah, I don't know, that was sort of interesting. At least maybe there'll be some way to determine that before you destroy your device.
Well, I didn't look much into the software. I saw that mentioned, but did you notice if it's saying like?
I mean, hardware manufacturers. Okay, so yeah, hardware manufacturers have to put this in their system to.
Okay,
so the user doesn't have to do anything when the system is in place, but it's not in place yet. So.
Yeah, so the hardware manufacturers are the ones that have to be in control of that. So I was thinking it would be cool if it was just a user-end software, and before a cable actually did anything, it popped up and was like, "Hey, this cable's being checked," or whatever.
Well, I mean, theoretically, you could buy a cable test kit with this technology and software. It looks like, but that would be a product I'm sure someone would come out with, maybe, but
Yeah.
I don't think it exists right now.
Get on it, Michael. Make it. Hurry.
Well, it would basically use the same mechanism that the device would, except, this would be something that you would have.
I do think it's
devices then, too.
I do think it's cool that cables actually will have a testing ability for that. So, what's up, Mike Invise? How's it going? Thanks for joining us. And Nick waves hi. Something else interesting, stamp prices went down for the first time in 100 years.
Down?
Yeah, down. Not up. Stamp prices went down. So I'm guessing their deals with the other shippers, UPS, FedEx, and all that stuff is panning out well, and they're not so far in depth or in the hole yet.
I'm pretty I'm pretty sure they're still in the hole.
So Phoenix has a question about D7X. When it gets released, how would a shop owner lock down D7X so other technicians only have access to certain tools they need to run? And that's going to be through a user management system, essentially. There'll be one manager that's in charge of the software, and then they can set permissions on the various users below them. You will have to have a license that supports multiple users, so you wouldn't be able to use the single tech license monthly or annual. You'd have to have a multiple tech license for those. So keep that in mind, but that's about all the specifics we have and can tell you. Can't show it off just yet. So, yep, you should have waited, Mike Invise. Why did you buy $200 worth of stamps? How much mailing do you do? No, you won't have to hire a D-support manager to come into your shop. We may offer that, though. We may offer managed D7 copies in the future. We'll keep an eye on it. Since Mike Invise is here and he wants to be the topic of discussion, I'll go ahead and point out that he tested for me what the QR code does for the Windows blue screen stuff. You know how they're showing QR codes? Well, he got the latest build and tried it out and found out that basically the QR code just takes you to a page that tells you the error number. So the stop code that you're used to seeing on the blue screen is no longer on the blue screen. You'll get a QR code, which now you have to scan, find out what the error code is, and then be able to search and Google it from there. Their page is absolutely of no help or use whatsoever. And
they have left the code on there too.
I have no idea. And Nick mentioned that you're just going to have to look at the code information in Event Viewer, and I was like, well, hopefully my computer will boot enough for me to get to Event Viewer and see that, because if it doesn't, and I'm like in the middle of loading application
offline.
Yeah, I could do it offline, but still, that makes me go through a whole lot more hassle when I could just leave the blue screen on. So.
Yeah.
Oh, and he posted the page that it actually takes you to, which is just windows.com/stopcode.
How long does the blue screen stay visible anyway? Doesn't the computer automatically reboot?
Well, you can turn it off so that it doesn't. Yeah.
Mm.
And usually if I'm having an error...
they'll even give you that option, yeah.
Oh yeah, so that page is total crap. Jeez. Basically, it just tells you some things that could be going wrong with blue screens and what you should do, which is basically it tells you nothing at all. That's junk. Man, you would think they would go better with that, but they don't design these things for technicians. They design them for end users to complain to technicians about. So yeah, and if it's set to automatically reboot, it only stays up there for 5 seconds, hardly long enough for you to scan the QR code. Whiskers thinks that stop code is just a placeholder for whatever the code is actually going to be. It may be, but if you look at that page, it basically just gives you a generic rundown of them. Let's see if we can just Windows. I mean, I guess with that theory, it would be Windows.com/08x800 or whatever. Yeah, and that page can't be found. So hopefully that is the way they're going to go, Whiskers, but it doesn't look like it from what that stop code page is. I mean, basically that's the same generic Microsoft help if you get a blue screen anyway. It would be nice if they actually had a database and actually gave you more information about what could possibly be actually wrong with it, which blue screens used to do really well. Like, it used to tell you everything that was really wrong with the computer right on the page until they changed it all. So
let's not get carried away. It wasn't that descriptive. It was mostly mumbo jumbo. They could have provided, you know, a little information as to what. I mean, you would think they would go the other direction, like they could say OX7E and then say this is usually blah blah blah. You know,
yeah.
I mean, they do, but that information never, ever, ever changed, and it's so generic it means nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the parameters and
They could
parentheses.
be pulling this information, updating it online, and anything. They could be doing all kind of stuff.
Yeah. They could do a whole lot more.
Be more privacy concerns.
They could do a whole lot more, but they did give a little bit of information at least before, but now they give you none, basically. And yep, future Technels, it's Microsoft. What do we expect? So Michael is throwing in a bunch of random links here. The Canadian police have had BlackBerry global decryption keys for, did you say 10 years or since 2010? I think that's what you said.
It was 2010. Yeah, 2010, since 2010. Yeah.
Yeah. Phoenix posted a link for a tool that gets you lots of information about specific IPs. So, yeah, that's interesting. Michael also posted another good one that I did want to talk about, which is the iOS 1970 bug, the one that basically crashed your iOS, and Apple released a patch for it so that you can't just set your phone back to 1969. But there's another exploit found for it where when you connect to a network, if there's a rogue NTP server on there, your iOS device checks the NTP server to see what time it is. It automatically updates your device to that time, and then it crashes your system. That one actually, they said, has the possibility of causing your battery to explode even. So,
Wow.
I mean, that seems like something that the Wi-Fi Pineapple is almost designed to be able to do even. It wouldn't be that hard to set up a NTP server on there and say it's 1969. So
yeah. So I mean, that's a trivial exploit and something, yeah, easily done by that, or even lesser devices potentially, but certainly that would be the go-to one for it. I don't know. I just don't understand why they couldn't make a more fundamental fix for it rather than just remove the exposure from the user. That's not a fix. That's a band-aid, if anything, you know. And you should talk about Martin mentioned just then in chat.
What?
Martin mentioned is asking about CryptoPrevent Beta. Yes,
It's looking fairly good. If you want to check it out, you can download it from here. I'll get you the link for that.
I think I have it. If you don't,
I have had a bunch of fixes come in, so I'm been working on those.
oh, okay.
And otherwise, I did want to point out what Mike Invise was talking about. He's had a bunch of clients complain about the frowny face emoji and saying it looks unprofessional and weird. And it is kind of weird to throw that on a blue screen error message. And RTM Tech said that Microsoft engineers tried to use a pop-up message that said, please Google, but upper management squashed it because they could have just said, please Bing. But that sounds even weirder.
They've lost their minds, though, with the error messages, and really, I don't think the frowny face is going to make anyone accept the error anymore. I think they have lost their minds with it. I don't know what they were thinking, and they could have spent all that time and all those board meetings discussing what they would put on that, doing anything from, I don't know, fixing bugs to actually, finishing the feature set of Windows 10. That would be nice, but.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but let's have a board meeting or 10 or 20 about whether we want to put a smiley or a frowny or a link to Google or a QR code or some other obfuscation of the information a consumer would need to help themselves. But whatever.
So RTM Tech also had a couple of links that he's PM'd me here. This one is looks interesting. Octopus inspired robot. So I like robots. That's pretty cool.
You like robots?
Yeah, I like robots. Who doesn't like robots?
We like robots generally, yes.
It can grasp, crawl, and swim. Fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He had also posted another link here about incidents teams appear to be responding to 3 to 4 ransomwares a week. And there's the link for that one. So that's a lot of ransomware. And he posted another one that I was going to talk about too. That so it came out first that the FBI paid Cellubrite or whatever Israeli company to provide them with a fix for it. It's basically been appearing a lot in recent news that they did not pay this company. They paid some basically just random hacker to give them a 0 day to crack the iPhone. So if you want to see more about it, you can check out this Slashdot thing.
Really?
And see all about the various things.
Wow.
So yeah, there's been a lot of talk about it, and they paid a hacker a one-time fee to use a piece of hardware that allowed it to access the iPhone stuff. So.
Oh, yeah. I saw this. I misinterpreted what you were saying. Okay. But yeah, they won't be able to reveal it because it's not their
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not their stuff, and they I don't even know that they were exposed to the actual underlying what was done, correct? If they're just using, let's say, a black box piece of hardware, is that my understanding? Or is that your
I have
understanding?
no idea, but it's interesting because if they paid a hacker to do it and they can't look at the code, then that hacker may be adding stuff to those phones that gets unlocked. So consider that as well. Brings me to another one from Slashdot. Apparently there's a optional Windows update that aims to prevent the MouseJack thing where your wireless mouse can be hijacked. So
it affects various models, not Microsoft and otherwise. I think of mice, but from my understanding, it's not 100% effective. It certainly, I think, mitigates it to some extent, but I don't know that it's a complete solution. So I would still possibly be aware, but it's probably a good thing to do if you have those. And I'm wondering why it's not why it's optional.
I was wondering that as well.
Update, and are there side effects of it potentially? More importantly, what is the underlying mechanism by which they mitigate it or attempt to mitigate it? Just like, remember, I reported with those the Rowhammer attacks or whatever, with the memory, people, they even go so far as to advertise products that claim to protect against it and may not, in fact, protect against it. I don't know. We'll see. But at least they're doing something about it. That's the good thing. Nothing being done would have been far worse, of course.
Yeah. So Malwarebytes also came out with a pretty nice infographic on protecting yourself from ransomware. They failed to mention CryptoPrevent, but that's okay. They did mention some of the other things that we talked about, patching your system, educating users, backup files, and invest in layered security. So those are all good points there. So check that out and maybe adapt it to use for your thing, your businesses. No, Michael's definitely not the secret hacker that helped the feds. What, Michael Envise? What's not okay? Insist that they recognize us. They did mention that you should invest in layered security and get a anti-ransomware. So, I mean, that's basically mentioning CryptoPrevent. Although we never claimed it as an anti-ransomware. Maybe we should start labeling some of that. Here's another cool thing Microsoft is coming out with, a Microsoft Desktop App Converter. So this will convert your app to the universal Windows platform so that you can have it hosted in the Windows 10 store.
Oh my.
Yeah, so people aren't making enough Metro apps, so they just came out with a converter so that you can have a Metro app, apparently. It is good to keep in mind, though, because if you when they come out with the HoloLens, that will only accept the will only work really well with the universal app. So good to know. Here's a pretty cool project if you need to make your shop or studio soundproof. It walks you through making your own noise insulation panels. So if I ever end up back in an apartment or something, I'm definitely going to be taking advantage of that project and making it. So
Really could have used that back in the day, huh, Tank? Proctor?
yeah, for band people. Too.
Wait. What is it? How does this involve a pie?
What's a pie?
Michael, he's on a different topic.
Oh. Sorry.
Yeah, we were all on a different topic. Actually, he was talking about making sound insulation.
Yeah.
I remember waking up on a pile of sound insulation one time.
We used to do a band, and upstairs at Proctor's computer store, and neighbors called and complained to the police sometimes.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. So
We did try to proof it up, but we know what we're doing.
Well, we managed to block off the windows, so if anybody did show up to complain, we wouldn't know it.
It was that soundproof anyway.
That's good.
It was like the cops went out there once and left because no one would come to the door.
That's awesome.
I remember a time where a cop came out and I was outside talking to him, and you dropped a beer bottle from the second story window, not knowing anybody was down there, and it landed in the recycling bin, but it was like right next to the cop.
You put the shit up like we had asked you to.
It was there for a reason. It's
Strategically placed.
Yeah.
Back on RTM Tech's Pi question, got 2 Raspberry Pis. He's using one for a thin client and wondering what to do with the second one. I would not recommend trying to make it a wireless password cracker because it doesn't have enough oomph behind it to really be reasonable. If you want a wireless password cracking system, you need to invest in like 4 SLI video cards that are high end to be able to really crack passwords nowadays. But your other Pi, you could do all kinds of things with it. You could load up Kali Linux on it, so you can do some other cracking and various network penetration things. You can make it into an emulation station, so you can play old emulated ROM games. You can make it into a media server if you want it to hook it up to your TV and watch movies stream from your stuff with OpenElect, or you could make it into a camera security system with what's that software? Motion iOS, I think it's called. Makes it into a really nice security system. You basically just hook up some USB webcams to it, and you can have a security system there. And Martin recommends OSMC, which is another kind of interface for OpenElect, whatever that base of it's called, I forget. So lots and lots of different tools and projects you can do. If you're actually looking for a project, my favorite one has been the laptop, or the lunchbox laptop. You can basically make a lunchbox into a portable laptop system with the Raspberry Pi. And I think if you just search for lunchbox laptop, you'll find some interesting stuff on that. Yeah, the Kali stuff is pretty cool. I have one of my Pis loaded up with that. So, or yes, you can turn it into an Alexa or the Amazon Echo. Amazon released source code so that you can make it into basically an Echo if you want to hook up a microphone to it. Wow, Michael, that was a terrible link you just posted. All kinds of Google-fied.
Yeah, clean that mess up.
He did.
Yay, thank you, Mike.
Trying to see if I can find the link for the laptop lunchbox. Yeah, here you go. Here's an instructable for it. I think that's pretty cool. Mike Invis, we did talk about there's a solution for de-Googlefying stuff. There's a Firefox extension for it, I believe, and with Chrome, I think you have to use TamperMonkey and some scripting, but there's options out there if you search for it.
Yeah, no, I think I've got something, or it's I removed that. There's something that'll turn that off in Chrome, I think too. But,
Not that I've seen, or when I researched it, didn't have it.
What did I do then? And how come mine aren't Googlified anymore?
You probably deleted a whole bunch of registry keys. Your links probably aren't even real links anymore.
Oh, Don't Track Me. It's called Don't Track Me Google. And it's an extension in Chrome. Yeah.
And that'll de-Googlify links?
Yes.
Even when you copy from Hangouts?
I believe so.
Yeah, RTM Tech, the kegerator management system is pretty cool. They also had one where you could brew your own beer with a Pi. So, and that's the extension you just posted there, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Know of a good Chrome extension for having many bookmarks. I don't use bookmarks anymore, so no. I never used bookmarks. Actually, the most bookmarks I use are just in the bookmark toolbar on Google.
I make the bookmarks, but I never actually use them.
Yeah, I've gotten into the point where I'm just using one tab and throwing things in there. If I group them all together and then one tab it, and then if I want to come back to that subject, I just pull that one tab back up. So
yeah, I've tried using one tab, but I seem to have a difficult time saving more than one set of tabs. Not sure what I'm doing wrong.
That is weird. I had it so I could. I used it two ways basically. One, I would either group a whole bunch of tabs about the same topic, and then I'd hit the extension, and it would send all of those tabs to one tab. Or I would use the one tab interface and bring all tabs into it, and then I would be able to restore them if I restarted my computer or something. Honestly, I don't mind the Google Chrome bookmark. They did buy that bookmark company to make that better, so it works pretty well, I think. Here was an interesting topic, and here's two different places that talk about it. But basically, they did some testing and found out that your brain, when tripping on LSD, basically takes you back to the brain activity of a infant. And I was thinking, that's kind of like, it makes it so that if I knew now what I knew then, or if I knew then what I know now, kind of set up. So that's why.
Listen, they gotta do something to keep them occupied for 9.5 months down there, right?
What are you talking about?
Babies?
We're not talking about pre-birth.
Yeah, we're not talking about babies tripping on acid either.
Oh my.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe you should read articles.
I have been wondering what's on Ethan's mind. Maybe I need to trip on some LSD.
Oh man.
Party at Proctor's house. Just kidding.
Well, I thought it was like, how people are always saying, if only I knew now, or only if I knew then what I know now, or like if I could go back in time.
If I knew now what I didn't know then.
Yeah.
Something.
Like that's basically what LSD is doing for you. It takes you back to that mindset, but you still know everything that you know now. So I thought that was pretty interesting, at least. Moving on from that topic before we get in trouble with anybody. I don't do much work on OS X stuff, but I thought it was pretty interesting to see this, which Lifehacker basically walks you through what to look for when you're looking at an OS X crash report and trying to diagnose a Mac crash. So if anyone doesn't do a lot of work on Macs but wants to learn more, Lifehacker has a decent article about that and links to another article that talks more about it. Yeah, definitely would be helpful if you do use Microsoft stuff, so or Mac OS stuff, fixing that. Been getting a lot of Macs in the shop recently. Proctor, do you do any Mac stuff at your shop?
Sometimes, not a lot comes in.
So here's another Lifehacker article that's pretty interesting. There's a for US X US basically that will tell you everything that Congress members are doing. Find out who your representatives are, find out what they're doing, how they're voting, how the money is getting spent. So seems like a pretty interesting tool if you want to look more into your governmental representatives. So the other shop that was doing Max in Mike Envise's town left, so now everybody's coming to him. That's a good thing. More work. I thought this was pretty cool. If you get a Motorola or a Moto X Pure, you possibly could get one that's been tagged by a graffiti legend. So basically, your Moto X Pure would be extremely unique, essentially. So I thought that was pretty cool. Hire all the interns, Michael.
Get it.
This was a pretty awesome thing. So some skateboarders set their skateboards on fire and started doing tricks with them. Freaking awesome. It looks amazing.
Until one got hurt. Yeah, we don't condone this daredevil, hormone.
I condone it.
driven-
Heck, you wouldn't even have to set it on fire if you have one of those hoverboards. You just ride around until it catches fire itself. There's the YouTube video to the full thing if you want to check it out. And they did it in the rain, so that's safe. Oh man, I want to get a 3D printer now, because they have designs out there that you can make your own cheap robotic lawnmower. Can you imagine mowing your lawn with like 10 or 15 of those? Just setting them up, setting them outside.
Well, a piece of plastic broke on my lawnmower that holds the axle on. I could use a 3D printer to print a replacement. I can't seem to find one.
Ouch. Yeah, I'll be extremely excited when those come down more in price. Like you can get some for about $300 now, but they're still small in size, so you can only make small things. The good ones still are running around $1,000. So
Yeah, I mean, one of the areas I see 3D printers being used for are replacement parts, like with laptops. Little plastic pieces for laptops can cost a ton if you order one from the manufacturer. Or if you had
Hmm.
a 3D printer, you could just print them, easily and have it immediately and do the repair job. But it would be nice if there was like a online um, schematics for parts and things like that, where you could just download a schematic and print
Yeah.
it.
Well, I'm sure those will become more and more popular as it becomes more and more ubiquitous around. So, um, I mean, they've only been out for a few years now and only been reasonable in price for the past year or two.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sure it's only going to get cheaper and cheaper once they come up with better things. Um, like they had a 3D glass printer, so you could print things in glass now. They have ones that are metal printers. Those are like just new and extreme technology, so you're not going to be able uh, to really buy those like anytime soon. But I'm thinking like the the Star Trek stuff, where like you just say whatever you want and it materializes for you.
The replicator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I'm hoping it's all going to end up going, but probably won't be in our lifetime. I'm guessing we'll have to deal with 3D printed. Still, that'll be better than nothing. So, Mike Envise is going to print a gun. You're more than welcome to. There's actually stuff online that you can do that with. Michael posted a link about Facebook planning 60 gigahertz broadband.
Yeah. So in dense city areas, it looks like it'll be an alternative. It looks like it's gigabit plus, so like bidirectional, so 2 gigabits total bandwidth. Let's see what else. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. You can read it. There's a lot of technical detail. One of the things I like about Ars Technica's articles. But
So you'd be fine with using Facebook provided internet?
um, I wouldn't, but I mean, I free, for those communities that it would serve, and I think it's a good thing. I, I don't know. I mean, at least it's technology. At least they're deploying this, and while hopefully Facebook won't always own it, and maybe hopefully won't always be injecting whatever into it, I still think technology being there in the urban areas is important.
Okay.
And it's one of the very few, it's 60 gigahertz. I mean, that really hasn't been generally rolled out widely by Google or anyone else. So I mean, Google is probably the only other one, but it's kind of good to know that. Anyway, I'm sorry, it does have Facebook in the name. My apologies.
I would just be concerned that the worst privacy place is offering internet. It just doesn't seem like a good fit for me.
I mean, you could argue that though every subsidized internet rollout has some purpose, and Google's. I don't know why it necessarily. I mean, I'd have to see it first. If there were some downsides, if there were privacy issues, or if there were advertising issues, or something else, but I don't necessarily think that's the case here. But take it as you will. I guess I'd have to be in the specific locations where this is happening, and I'll look at the announcement, see exactly what cities it's in. But I don't think it's going to be affecting me specifically, at least.
Yeah, I doubt it's coming to Greenville anytime soon. Although y'all did just have Smash Mouth perform.
I don't
Y'all are moving up in the world.
what the fuck you're talking about. Sorry.
Smash Mouth, it played at the Town Commons. Did you go to that?
Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
Why did Michael get quiet all of a sudden?
Shut up.
Let's see, what else we got? Oh, Martin posted a link for a Kickstarter project. Let's check out what we got there. Fed up with work getting in the way of your drone flying? This plug-and-play infrared night module allows you to see in the dark. Oh, nice. So you'll be able to fly your drone in the dark. That'll be fun. Interesting. I'll have to wait until it's not on Kickstarter anymore, though. Yeah, he would actually have to go into Greenville. He's not in Greenville, actually. We've mentioned where he is on another show, but you'll have to watch all of them to find out. Here's an interesting review. We've talked about these mini PCs before. This one runs a little bit more than those single sticks that you plug into the back of the TV, but I do like this one having the option of you plugging in an HDMI cable to whatever you want. So if you carry a small monitor with you, or even want to use a USB 3 monitor, you could probably get away doing that. So I thought it was pretty interesting. It basically would replace having to carry your laptop around if you wanted to have a desktop that you could plug up anywhere. It seemed like a neato thing. I was looking for the price on the 4 gigabyte one, but I could not seem to find it in my quick searching here. The 2 gigabyte RAM is $135, so a little bit more than those sticks cost, but and Phoenix posted that Paramount is saying they own the Klingon language.
Way to hurt your fans.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going to get off with that.
I mean, really? I mean, just do everything to piss off your user base, like Brantley was saying the other day, like as far as piracy, driving, the inconveniences by the MPAA and the RIA and things like that are potentially driving people to piracy because there's no alternative for them to do what they want to do with the software. And to do this, I found it's great. We love it when communities talk about our software. Why can't it be great for their brand? The more people who talk and discuss Star Trek and all those things associated with that are only going to help sell tickets to the next movie, are just going to sell your memorabilia and action figures and whatever else you have out there. It's a good thing for everyone, and I see no reason why they want to do this.
You're funny.
Johnny got her tooth ripped out today, and she won't believe me that drinking liquor will help ease the pain.
Oh, come on. You know that's true, Johnny. Come on.
It is true.
Yeah.
I mean,
Everybody's
It
saying.
takes away the pain of everything.
Nick said it takes away the pain of everything.
Nope, that's what I was going to say.
Alcohol does. She's concerned about the hole in her face and getting alcohol in there or something.
It'll just keep it clean. It's alcohol.
Oh,
Tank says
whole
it'll just keep it
I thought you said whole interface. I was like, what?
a hole in her face.
Whole interface.
Phoenix suggested vodka. I think all she has right now is a choice of rum or whiskey. I'd say the whiskey would be better.
Probably. I don't know. It's all the same, dude. Who cares?
Yeah.
Just a quick shot down the hatch. It doesn't even have to hit your teeth. Just straight down.
People do like
Proctor said don't even let it hit your mouth. Just gulp it back your throat and be done.
Straight down the hatch.
She said she just took some pain pills and that will help even more.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody said yes.
Yes.
Well, this is interesting. We all know that China is coming up in the world. Apparently, they're making a big freaking satellite out in rural China right now. Or not a satellite. Is that a satellite? No, not a satellite. Telescope, a radio telescope. Big picture, fast radio telescope. Looks pretty awesome. I mean, that's quite a project undertaking they're taking. Plus, they have enough rural area where radio telescopes would be good for them. They probably wouldn't even have to have the no Wi-Fi stuff like our radio telescopes do here in America. Which I still think is pretty interesting, that no radio signal town, and actually entire area. I think it's in West Virginia. Because they have a radio telescope there, and they don't want things causing possible false alarms. So here's an interesting security link. Apparently there's a bunch of adware bundlers pushing cryptocurrency miners on unsuspecting victims, and they're targeting several high-profile free software to do this. So if you're going out and say looking for free AVG and you happen to get one that's offered by this adware bundler, you'll get the free AVG, but you'll also get a crypto miner on your system, which will basically use part of your computer's power to mine cryptocurrency for whoever installed the software for you, basically. So definitely keep an eye out for that. That stuff may not even be picked up by antivirus or anti-malware, because cryptocurrency mining stuff tends to be pretty legitimate on its own. Hey, speaking of the infrared thing, Martin, looks like drone racing is coming to ESPN. So, big leap in the drone industry for that. That's going to be awesome. Looks like they're going to have a big race in on Governor Island in New York City. So, they're going to air it on ESPN. That's going to be awesome. You might remember that Dubai just had a big drone race where a 16-year-old kid, I think, won $250,000 just from flying his drone better than everybody. So a couple of quick semi-political links here. The President Obama says he'll veto any anti-net neutrality bill. And a more interesting one, I know we've been down in Congress about how they're hurting us, but looks like they're making a email privacy bill moving forward, which basically would require the feds to have a wiretap or warrant for old email. So that's kind of a good thing. Oh, and if you wanted to make Obama say anything you want, there's a website for that now.
I was surprised it took this long.
Well, he had to have a bunch of words said in public so that we could chop them up and use it. Oh, Proctor, you're going to have to get some 3D goggle stuff.
Oh, for the iPhone?
Well, I don't know if they make it for the iPhone, so I guess you're out of luck. You're going to have to get a new phone. You may be able to do it just by moving around with your phone. Some of the 360 videos do that. But they put the...
Those 360 videos might make me sick.
Oh. Because they did the Game of Thrones opening credits in a 360 video. So you can be like
cool.
inside of it. And it is pretty cool.
Oh, well, I'll check it out, but it'll probably make me fall over in the floor.
Make sure you just stay in your spinny chair.
Yeah. Yeah, if you need to translate from English to Klingon, here's a site.
Oh, but Paramount owns that, so you can't. It'll probably be shut down soon. So apparently Scarlett Johansson is going to be the lead in Ghost of the Shell live action movie.
She's perfect for it. Excellent. Good pick.
Didn't they just come out with a robot Scarlett Johansson?
Yes, they did. She's very popular among sci-fi people. She has a ton of sci-fi movies, in case you guys didn't know already. And yeah, we're in love with her. And
what are some of her other movies? Did you say we're in love with her and her body?
Well, fans seem to be. Yeah.
That's so weird to say. Anyway, what are some of her other movies?
So let's see. Scarlett's full list of movies.
Not her full list, just some of her most popular ones.
Well, she was obviously in Captain America and the other Avengers and all those movies recently. Lucy was the one where she was the wasn't she the robot person in that? No.
She was the enhanced
drug. Or
the drug enhanced person.
Yeah. So that was a good one for her. She was the voice of her, and that was the AI movie I was thinking of. She was the voice of her in that. She was in
what AI?
Hitch, the movie Her.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh yeah, it's the guy who's like cell phone gets an operating system upgrade, and it's turns out to be naked, AI. Anyway, I've heard she's big on Robot Chicken. She was in the Hitchcock. I really like that movie, but that wasn't really sci-fi at all. That was more of a biography. I swear she's done some more sci-fi films. What am I thinking of?
All right, well, that's good enough for now.
She was in The Island. I guess that was sci-fi.
Gosh, okay.
All right, that's good enough. Thank you for that. So Phoenix posted a link about the Harry Potter publisher going on a bizarre anti-piracy rampage, and it looks like they just sent out a bunch of takedown notices or copyright things. I don't know. Their article was hard to read, so. Alright, well, I got one last link here. One of my favorite apps on Android has been Google Opinion Rewards. And apparently this gives you some tips and tricks on how to earn even more from it. I can go ahead and tell you one of the biggest ways to earn more from it is to tell them that you're a girl. because you will get a crap load more surveys if you're a girl versus a guy. Both Johnny and I do this and did this before we met each other, and Johnny's all-time rewards is like $85. My all-time reward is like $30. So girls get a whole lot more surveys than guys get. But it's got some other tips and tricks and tells you about how it works in the background. So gives you some ways to get it up better. And they say to open the app daily is just one of the things. And one of them is just saying, be an affluent female. So if you're a female, it will definitely get you more surveys.
I had a nice little, slightly more techie. Oh wait, it's the wrong link. That was about joblessness. Shoot, where's? Okay, yeah, there's a DARPA latest chip. It can't do correct math, but that was actually the design of it. Was that to imperfect calculations to better, I guess, better understand the real world, and also potentially use tremendous few or less power and other things. I don't know. It's a little bit more.
By making mistakes?
Yeah, if you will. It's this has been an interesting level of has received a lot of interest in study recently, and it's would seem to indicate that like the initial quantum computers that they're building would be like that. Just makes sense. So I think it's worth a little bit of a read there.
The quantum computers would make mistakes?
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not mistakes. But like for instance, if you add, a simple calculation like 1 + 1 might not yield exactly 2.
What might it yield?
I don't know, anywhere from like 1.98 to 2.01.
What? Wouldn't you need like 1 point something to yield that?
1.98 to 2.01. I mean, that range. In other words,
I mean, if you're saying 1 + 1 = 2, it's always going to equal 2 unless you're doing like 1 point.
No, because it's just approximating 1 instead of actually representing 1 in the program. But I mean, it's hard to with specific examples.
I keep doing the Beatles thing. 1 and 1 and 1 is 3.
Yeah, but there's a good reason for them to do this, believe me. So
Michael finds it hard to discuss topics with us sometimes. I'm still not understanding the good reasons.
Okay. Because for instance, you can perform calculations a lot faster if you don't have to come up with the absolute with the perfect answer. And and for instance, in quantum calculations, they have an increasing likelihood of coalescing against the actual answer. But whether or not that's achievable in maybe the first quantum computers that come out, for instance, is going to be questionable. And so we're starting to look and see how computers can operate in incredibly noisy environments and incredibly messy environments and still operate and function. And the goal is, again, so for instance, if you were to
my computer will break.
Remember how my analogy with space and NASA and how many digits do they use to calculate pi in their calculations? Well, it turns out to be there's not that many digits that they actually need, even for sending something billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of miles away. And so the point is, if that's good enough for them, why can't approximations be good enough in a lot of cases? And we're starting to apply that in a scientific way to determine what are the circumstances where approximations can be beneficial to us, and when do we really actually need the absolute perfect number, answer to something. And As long as we're close, is it okay? No, not always, especially when your data set is so huge that unless you throw a portion of it away, there's no way to crunch it all in time. There's a lot of reasons for it, and not only for the simple fact that performing less.
I want to go back to where you were saying that my computer won't work if it's noisy.
I didn't say yours won't, but I mean, if there's enough radiation in any environment, it's gonna impact your ability to function. And these types of chips.
That's not noise.
Well, electromagnetic noise in a way, yes, it is. Could be radio signals of a high enough frequency directed directly at a chip could cause something to happen. There's a lot of things that could cause a bit to flip in memory, for instance, and including those rowhammer attacks I was talking about. And and that's the thing. A single bit flip in memory for these types of computers wouldn't break them.
You bit flipping? Yeah, I'm bit flipping.
But have you ever tried to randomly flip a bit in your program's code, in RAM while it's running, and the result is probably not usually.
No, but I'm sure you have while you're deleting registry keys. Yeah, don't go flip a bit on us, Michael.
I got something to flip, but it ain't pretty.
All right. Well, I think on that note, we've reached past our hour time limit, so we're probably going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for all the chatter and joining us, Futures Tech Nels, Martin, Mike Invise, Phoenix, RTM Tech, Weskers. Always a pleasure to have you all converse with us for a little bit. And we'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. for our Friday show. So remember, we're here to provide support and answer any questions. If you have any of those, feel free to interrupt us anytime. We'll be more than happy to talk about those. Otherwise, in the meantime, you can reach us at support or sales@foolishit.com. Or if you drop it in the chat, we'll be sure to talk about it tomorrow at 6 p.m. for our Friday show. And otherwise, I think later, Internet, you can take us on out, Proctor.
All right.